And welcome once again to another edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Happy Monday. It is the first episode of the month of August, and I'm excited to be here. Don't forget, new episodes every Monday and Wednesday night on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. And starting this Friday, I will have a special audio-only version of the show as I preview all levels of football. And you can catch that on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Remember, audio only on Friday. I've got a great guest that's going to be on Wednesday's show. It is GPB Sports anchor Matt Stewart. We're going to talk a little League baseball. And then next week, I got some fantastic guests that I'm going to reveal on Wednesday's show. But before we get into anything, it's a great time to be a sports fan. The kids are back in school. I'm excited because not only I have this platform to talk sports, but you can also catch me every morning on Sports Vision's 92.1 FM in Columbus, Georgia. And I also call games for Georgia Alabama Sports Live and do Georgia Alabama Sports Live shows as we were live from Synovus Park to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of historic Golden Park. And it was a great time just to be at the Cleanstones game. And I'm rocking the Cleanstones shirt because I support all the local teams here in Columbus, whether it's the Cleanstones, the Columbus Lions, the Columbus River Dragons, Columbus United FC. And once upon a time, I was the play-by-play announcer for the indoor soccer team, Columbus Rapids. And you can't forget about them. Can't forget about the Columbus Chattahoots. We've had some pretty good professional teams or semi-pro teams here in the area. A lot to cover on the show. We got two teams in the area. They're going to be in the Southeast Region Tournament in Warner Robins. We also have the Major League Baseball trade deadline. 6 o'clock Eastern is the deadline. Braves have already made moves, but the move that everybody's talking about is Tarik Skubal to the Dodgers. Does that ruin baseball? I got an opinion on that. Also, as we got NFL training camp going on, I've got two more divisions to preview. I'm previewing the NFC East. I'm going to preview the AFC East on Wednesday, and then we put a bow on that just in time for the start of the first preseason game, which will be this Thursday, the Hall of Fame game. And then with Big Ten Media Days wrapped up, we had SEC Media Days. We should get a picture on what that coaches poll is supposed to look like. And then the AP poll is going to drop. We're a couple of weeks away from college football. I will reveal my top 10 college football teams. That's right. Here on the show, I'm going to reveal that. And also, every Monday, I talk a little bit about the GHSA. Last week, I previewed some of the top games for week one. I'm going to preview the top 10 offensive players for all the high schools in the state of Georgia. And then, of course, I got my movie review. I'm going to make a transition. This will be the final week that I do my movie review because I'm going to start a new segment next week. You got to tune into the show to find out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the show. I'm excited because the Columbus Cleanstones, they celebrated 100 years at historic Golden Park. What a great time. However, they did lose to the Rocket City Trash Pandas. They only were able to take 2 out of 6. They're 4 back of the Biloxi Shuckers, but they got an opportunity here to gain some ground. They are 4 back. They take on the Shuckers, who are in first place in the Southern League South for a 6-game series. I plan on being there Saturday night. I'm going to try to get to some of the games. This is pretty cool that we've had 12 straight home games for the Columbus Cleanstones. I'll be there Saturday night for Chuck Williams bobblehead. For those of you who don't know, Chuck Williams is a season ticket holder for the Columbus Cleanstones and an investigative reporter for WRBL. And he was actually featured on our show live from Synovus Park. And Ricky Rogers did a fantastic interview with him, and looking forward to Chuck Williams bobblehead night. So the Columbus Cleanstones, they've said farewell to Lucas Braun. He got called up to AAA Gwinnett, but Lucas Braun was part of that trade deal that sent Lucas Braun to the Kansas City Royals, and the Braves ended up getting outfielder Lane Thomas for a 4-player trade. for that. And that's a good segue. Let's talk about that MLB trade deadline because the Braves have made moves. Right now, they have an 8-game lead over the Philadelphia Phillies. They have won 5 in a row. They swept the Washington Nationals. And the Braves, right now, they would be the 3 seed, but they could start competing for the 2 or even the 1 seed. Because right now, guess who has the best record in all Major League Baseball? It's not the Dodgers. It's the Milwaukee Brewers, who don't even compare to the payroll the Dodgers have because the rich keep on getting richer. You remember in the offseason when they ended up getting Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz? Last year, they ended up getting Shohei Ohtani and then Freddie Freeman and then Mookie Betts. And this is what the Dodgers do. Well, they ended up breaking the bank. And I compare this to Thanos when he got all 6 Infinity Stones. They ended up trading for Tarik Skubal, the Cy Young pitcher from the Detroit Tigers. How are they doing this? I don't understand, but it's not their fault. They got the money. There's no salary cap in baseball. So they ended up getting their solidified number 1 starter, who's going to be the game 1 starter in the postseason. Right now, I know Blake Snell and Kevin and Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow. Glasnow and Snell are on the shelf right now. But if they come back in time for the postseason, the Dodgers may have the greatest starting 5 of all time when it comes to pitching because they're going to have Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, which Shohei Ohtani doesn't even have to pitch. But then you're going to have Tarik Skubal, you're going to have Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell. Glasnow and Snell and Yamamoto, they are all Cy Young candidates. I mean, this is ridiculous. As a San Francisco Giants fan, I'm appalled. Right now, the Giants are sellers. They traded away Luis Arroyo to the Philadelphia Phillies. They traded away Tyler Mahle to the Atlanta Braves. It's the Wild Wild West when it comes to the trade deadline. I'm sure that we are not done. While this show is airing, the trade deadline is about an hour away. There's going to be some transactions that I did not mention because I pre-recorded this show. But we also got Kevin Gausman going to the Chicago Cubs. Cubs are one of those teams that they feel they can make a deep postseason run. But back to Tarik Skubal going to the Dodgers. Are the Dodgers now the sure favorites to three-peat? And does this ruin baseball? Well, if they get Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow back, how are they going to stop them in the postseason? This is absolutely ridiculous that you have got 5 starters who are considered aces. And they also got Robleski. Robleski's a pretty good pitcher as well. Edwin Diaz, great closer. The only move that they made that hasn't really panned out is Kyle Tucker hasn't really had a great season. He struggled. But, they just plug and play. Max Muncy's hurt. They bring in Freddie Freeman. They move Max Muncy to third base. Because Mookie Betts is an athlete, they move him to shortstop. They get rid of players like Cody Bellinger. I love Yasiel Puig. They got rid of him in his prime, and he's not even in the league anymore. Justin Turner, a big part of that 2020 World Series, they got rid of him. The Dodgers, as painful as it is for me to say this, they might be the most smartest and the most luckiest team in all of Major League Baseball. It's heroes like Miguel Rojas, who's not even one of their top players as far as salary goes, that ends up winning a World Series for him because of his heroics. Andy Pagas, who's a great hitter. He doesn't even compare to the salaries of Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, or Freddie Freeman. Will Smith have always been clutch in the postseason. This is what the Dodgers do. They find diamonds in the rough. Even though I don't like the fact that they got rid of prospects to get Skubal, this is definitely what the Dodgers do. Now, some of the other moves, is it going to help these other teams? Because I do think that the Cubs are better since they have Gausman. I didn't realize the Blue Jays, who got to the World Series last year, are now all of a sudden sellers. But I do like the moves that the Braves got. Let's start with the outfielder that he's Lane Thomas. He's an outfielder that could be a platoon guy. I think that he's the type of outfielder he's going to plug and play, kind of going to share time with Mike Yastrzemski. And then they got Tyler Mahle from the San Francisco Giants, which is good because it helps improve their bullpen. I don't compare these moves to 2021, but I do think the Braves have helped them as they try to make a postseason run. Right now, they would be the 3 seed. I still worry if they face the Dodgers in the NLCS. I'm actually predicting it's going to be Braves-Dodgers in the NLCS. And who knows what's going to happen in the American League. It is wide open because right now the Chicago White Sox have the best record in the AL Central. They lead Cleveland by 3, but the team with the best record in the American League is the Tampa Bay Rays. And you look at their payroll. I mean, they have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. Sometimes it's not about having the highest payroll like the Dodgers been doing. The Dodgers spend like nobody's business, but it's paid off for them. They have won 2 straight World Series titles, and they could be the first National League team to win 3 straight World Series titles. They're trying to make history. Like it or you don't, take it for what it is. We might end up having a lockout in 2027. That's all I got to say about that. I went on a rant about the Dodgers. All right, let's talk Little League Baseball. Because historically here in Columbus, we've got 2 Little League teams that's in the Southeast Regional. And I'm going to have Matt Stewart on from GPB Sports. He actually calls games for the Southeast Regional on ESPN. This is always a favorite tournament of mine. I've got the bracket, and we've got 8 talented teams in the Southeast. We're going to start at 10 a.m. All these games going from August 6th through August 11th. And we have all these games played at Southeast Park in Warner Robins. First round game is going to be on ESPN+. Let's talk about the defending champion, South Carolina, taking on West Virginia at 10 a.m. At 1 p.m., we've got American Little League from Georgia taking on Florida. We've got Virginia and Tennessee at 4 o'clock, and then the nightcap for round 1, Alabama taking on North Carolina. Phoenix City Little League and American Little League are in this Thursday. And if you want to head down to Warner Robins and check them out, it's going to be a great tournament. Double elimination. If they were to meet, they would meet in the winner's bracket on Sunday, August the 9th at 2 p.m. The championship game will be Tuesday, August the 11th. Of course, whoever wins that game in the winner's bracket on Sunday will automatically be in the championship game, and they will have 2 opportunities to go to Williamsport because they would face the winner of the elimination bracket, but the person in the elimination bracket would have to try to win twice in order to try to get a ticket to Williamsport. So I can't wait. I'm excited about this tournament, and I'm excited that Matt Stewart is going to be on the show on Wednesday. All right, making a swift transition. Let's talk NFL training camp. Many of you know I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan. The whole Kyle Shanahan car accident, I wish nothing but the best of him. I hope that he has a full recovery. They really kept that under wraps for 2 weeks. But one of the things that I'm really excited about, it's kind of a silver lining because another big-time injury, Ricky Pearsall out for the season, absolutely devastating. When healthy, he was their go-to wide receiver last year. And now I know they're a different team because now they got Mike Evans. He's the number 1. George Kittle's coming back from that injury. But how about Deebo Samuel returning to the San Francisco 49ers? I'm a huge fan of Deebo Samuel. This was a move that needed to happen, especially with the drama with Brandon Ayuk and with Ricky Pearsall out. I like the rookie Deshaun Stripling, but he has not proven yet. Mike Evans, he might be a little past his prime, but still a pretty good receiver. But I tell you what, this move just might put the 49ers in the playoffs, even though they are in one of the toughest divisions in all of football. And here's the thing. I talked about them where I previewed them a couple of weeks ago. And, I said to myself, this team, do not overlook the San Francisco 49ers and what Kyle Shanahan has done. And Raheem Morris, even though I think that he's a little bit of a downgrade from Robert Saleh as a defensive coordinator, They're getting all their defensive pieces back. But the one thing I loved about Deebo Samuel was he was a versatile player that could play wide receiver, running back, special teams. You give him the ball in a little slant on a 3rd and 9, and Deebo Samuel found a way to get the first down. Looking at his career, 2021 was when he was an all-pro. He had 1,400 receiving yards, and this was the first Pro Bowl wide receiver since Terrell Owens. Last time Terrell Owens in 2004. It's been a long time since they had a Pro Bowl wide receiver. And I know throughout his career, Brandon Ayuk started becoming the one. 2023, it felt like Brandon Ayuk was the one, Deebo was the 2. But the one thing that I just did not get was in 2024, his last year in San Francisco, he chose to change his number to 1. I made a joke on my social media. 1 isn't 19, just like when Nick Anderson said 45 isn't 23. He regressed in 2024. Now, the 49ers were snake bitten by injuries in 2024. He goes off to Washington and had a decent year, but the 49ers get him back at a bargain. And so, welcome back to the Bay, Deebo Samuel. And I've heard he's going back to number 19. Good for you. Congratulations. You need to keep number 19. And all those people that bought those Deebo Samuel number 19 jerseys, I'm just not a fan of number changes. That's just my opinion. Hey, why don't we do this? Let's take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to briefly talk about ESPN Jeopardy because I started binge watching it on Disney Plus, and going to talk WNBA. I got some things I want to talk about Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and then we get into previewing the NFC East. You don't want to go anywhere. It's a Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Back after this. And we are back here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Hey, make sure that you follow us on the socials. I'm on TikTok and Instagram. You can catch new episodes of the show every Monday and Wednesday night at 5 o'clock on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. I want to start this next segment talking about ESPN Jeopardy. I watched it, and I'm a fan. I loved it. The thing is, once you watch it once, you really don't need to watch it again because you know all the answers. Hosted by Joe Buck. Now the first season, they already have all the seasons. So they had like a tournament of champions, and the contestants are celebrities, mainly ESPN sports anchors. But, you know, you had celebrities like John Hamm, and you had Key from Key and Peele. I mean, you had passionate sports fans. But the thing that got me tripping about this was when I play, when I watch Jeopardy, I used to watch Jeopardy and I'd actually would play along. I would say the answer before the contestant says the answer. I'm not trying to brag, but I nailed it. I got maybe 95% of the answers right. And some of the answers I knew, and Jeremy Schaap, who ended up getting the top score and ended up winning it, not trying to spoil it, I knew things he didn't know. And that's the thing, is that sports knowledge is always up there. And if they choose to have a second season and they just bring back, they try to get regular contestants on this, I'm applying for this. I know that I've always considered myself somebody that could be on Jeopardy, but you put me on Sports Jeopardy, it's over. And I remember that viral clip of all those contestants that didn't know the football questions on Jeopardy. I was like, oh, shaking my head like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But Joe Buck has done a great job. There's been some unique and creative categories. I love the category where the coaches that have like the press conferences, the rant on the press conferences. trying to guess who said what. And, they had like playoffs. Are you kidding me? Jim Mora. And then we're talking about practice with Allen Iverson. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend you watch it. It's on Disney Plus. I didn't watch all the episodes. I watched maybe the first 4 episodes. I'll continue watching it, but I already found out who won the whole thing. So ESPN Jeopardy, I hope they come back with a second season. I'm not a big fan of putting it all out there at once. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Have an episode come out every day. Jeopardy is something that comes on in syndicated TV every day at 7:30. I get it, but I hope they have a second season soon, and I'm hoping that they have regular guys like me that coming on ESPN Jeopardy because I think that would be a lot of fun, and it's a huge success. I really enjoyed it. Joe Buck did a great job with that. All right, I got to talk a little WNBA because the best team right now is the Minnesota Lynx, and they've proven it, beating the Indiana Fever yesterday. Another nationally televised game for the Indiana Fever. And quite frankly, it's not just Caitlin Clark. Yeah, Caitlin Clark's great, but another popular player on the Indiana Fever is Sophie Cunningham. She is wildly popular. She is unapologetic. She's going to speak her mind. A lot of the fans and a lot of the players do not like her, but she is just one of those players that, is just going to speak her mind. And she's also an enforcer. She's in martial arts, and she is Caitlin Clark's protector. And that's what I love about that. The Fever are 19-11 right now. But right now, the Minnesota Lynx have the best record in the WNBA. I mean, they're doing it at 25-6. I mean, we know about Neficia Collier, but they also have this incredible lineup of rookies led by Olivia Miles. Olivia Miles could be the next superstar in the WNBA. I mean, she's averaging 19.7 points a game. She is their top scorer. Of course, the Las Vegas Aces, Asia Wilson is the best player in the WNBA. Let's not beat around the bush. How about the Golden State Valkyries? Where did this come from? And look, I'm a fan of all the Bay Area teams, but the Golden State Valkyries, who they have Gabby Williams, Veronica Burton, and Janelle Salian, but they don't really have a superstar. They're just doing it off of scheme and playing at the Chase Center with those fans because they have incredible fans. And of course, the Atlanta Dream, the local team here in Georgia, Angel Reese, what can you say? She fits like a glove. She is Atlanta. When I think of Atlanta, I think of Angel Reese, but they got Ryan Howard, they got Alicia Gray, they got Tahina Paopao, who's a pretty good point guard. The Atlanta Dream are going to be fine. Dallas Wings, with AZ Fudd and Paige Beckers, you got your back-to-back number 1 overall picks. That's why the Wings are where they are. Washington, New York, those are your playoff teams. These are your playoff teams. Washington Mystics got Lauren Betts, championship-winning player from UCLA. And then New York Liberty, they've got stars too. Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart. Come on. This is great. I know that Kelsey Plum got traded to the Phoenix Mercury. I know, but I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs. I think the Los Angeles Sparks just wanted to dump salary. But every now and then when I get a chance to talk WNBA, I'll talk WNBA. I'm not just going to talk Caitlin Clark, but Caitlin Clark still has that Tiger Woods factor where half of the casual fans of the WNBA leave when she's not playing. I still think it was a conspiracy theory that last year that they did not disclose the seriousness of her injury. They kept just stringing people along. Oh, it's just a groin injury. But she was out for the season. She wasn't even in the playoffs. But if they would have said in the beginning she was out for the season, there goes your fans. Every day I went to the box score trying to see the injury report to see when Caitlin Clark was coming back. I'm a fan of Caitlin Clark. She is one of the most popular and dynamic players in the WNBA, but she's not the best player. That category still belongs to Asia Wilson. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Every week up till training camp, I preview a division in football. I got 2 more divisions to go. Going to preview the NFC East, and I've got to tell you that when I was actually doing my homework on this, it's hard to determine who's going to win this division because you've got some really good teams, but you also have a team, you got a coach on the hot seat, and it's really all about the quarterback play for the Washington Commanders. So let's recap last year. The Eagles, when they came off their Super Bowl win, a disappointing wild card loss to the 49ers last year. But the one thing about the Philadelphia Eagles was that their offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, got hammered. Now Sean Manning is now the offensive coordinator. So Jalen Hurts, he's had 5 offensive coordinators in the last 5 years. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is how do you get continuity? And now your top receiver, A.J. Brown, is on the Patriots, but the Eagles did get Dontavius Wicks, and they drafted Mekhi Lemon in the first round to replace that productivity they lost from A.J. Brown. People tend to forget that the Eagles still have Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is still one of the best running backs in all of the league. They still have one of the best offensive linemen in the league with Jordan Matala, Lane Johnson. Even though he's getting up there in age, he's the best right tackle in all of football. I think that the big question mark, and I like Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator, but that defense is getting a little bit older, and they've shipped off players like Nakobe Dean. They still have like Zach Bond, Cooper DeJean. They still have players that made a huge impact in that Super Bowl. And some of the Georgia players like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, who ended up getting an extension. I still think that the Eagles are the team to beat in the NFC East, but right behind them, the Dallas Cowboys. I know they went 7-9-1 last year under first-year coach Brian Schottenheimer, but the Dallas Cowboys, even though they traded away Micah Parsons, got some pretty good draft picks. But their receiving core with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is one of the best in the league. When Dak Prescott has help, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's definitely a top 10 quarterback. Javonte Williams, the free agent that came over from Denver, he's going to have a good season. And I think that the defense is going to improve. D. Winters comes over from the San Francisco 49ers. And you also have Caleb Downs, another rookie that's going to make an impact for the Dallas Cowboys. Quentin Williams, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary comes over from the Green Bay Packers. So I'm really looking forward to the Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's take a look at the Washington Commanders because they went 5-12 last year. And Ron Rivera is on the hot seat. They're 2 years removed from going to the NFC Championship. Jaden Daniels, look, if he's healthy, I think the Commanders will win some games. Now, they do lose Deebo Samuel, but they still have Terry McLaurin. His health comes into question. Their defense, man, they got a lot of new faces on that defense. Sonny Styles is the top rookie. Javon Kinlaw, Tim Settle, Leo Chanel. A lot of those defensive players I don't recognize. They might be in trouble this year. I think that if they don't have a winning record this year, I think that Dan Quinn's going to be out of a job. The Washington Commanders with the new ownership group, they truly care about winning. And they did get to the NFC Championship 2 years ago. Jaden Daniels, that's the big question mark, is his health. Finally, the team I think is the most improved with a brand new coach in John Harbaugh. They went 4-13 last year. No problem. They got a new offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy. Jackson Dart in his second year. He is their franchise quarterback. They're getting Cam Scatterbu back. They're getting Malik Neighbors back. This team is for real. This Giants team is going to be the most improved team. Got a lot of talented players on that team. They got Isaiah Likely in free agent. He is going to be possibly a Pro Bowl tight end. Not a bad pick for John Harbaugh to come over to the Giants and pick up his tight end that he coached with the Baltimore Ravens. DJ Reader, Shelby Harris, they got them from free agency. Arvell Reese, another Ohio State player that's going to have an impact this year. And then you've got Craig Newsome coming over, Abdul Carter, great pass rusher. I think the Giants go 10-7 and possibly get a wild card berth. That's how much I'm buying this stock, having John Harbaugh, which the Ravens had no business firing. And now the Giants have their coach that's going to make all the difference in the world. You remember with Brian Dable last year, Cam Scadaboo, when he was healthy, and Malik Neighbors with Jackson Dart, they beat the Eagles last year. They were beating teams. So I think that the New York Giants are going to be the most improved team in the NFC East. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to preview the AFC East next Wednesday, this Wednesday. It's going to be great that I'm going to be having to do that. So without further ado, I want to switch gears. I want to talk about Georgia high school football. Every Monday, I want to do a segment where I'm talking about high school football, whether it's top recruits, top games, just my thoughts on high school football. And by the way, special prayer goes to the family of legendary coach Buck Godfrey, who passed away over the weekend. He was a longtime Hall of Fame coach of Southwest DeKalb. In fact, Buck Godfrey Stadium is where all the DeKalb County schools play. He was a legendary coach, Georgia Sports Hall of Famer, Atlanta Hall of Famer, Georgia Coaches Hall of Fame, and truly is going to be missed. A legend has been lost in Georgia high school football. So I have a segment, and this is only juniors and seniors because according to Rivals.com, they don't rank sophomores. So I can't really put Zach Watts from Carrollton in this list. But if they did rank sophomores, I think he'd be probably in the top 10. I'm going to rank the top 10 skilled players in the entire state of Georgia. This is according to Rivals.com. I took the seniors and I took the juniors and I combined them together. Coming in at number 1, talented wide receiver from Lee County, Jaden Upshaw. I mean, is there anything this guy can't do? He's absolutely amazing. I think that Lee County is going to be one of the top teams that could win a state championship, especially in 6A. You know, I don't really talk much about Lee County. They're down in Leesburg. I know that Southwest Georgia, Aaron Hughes covers them down there. But, man, what a player. And I think he's going to have a big impact for Lee County this year. He's actually committed to Texas A&M. And his NIL value is worth about $450K. The 6'1", 195, 4-star receiver. He is fantastic. All right, number 2. He's a junior. The number 2 wide receiver comes from the Golden Hurricane from Cartersville, and that is Maddox Davis. Now, we know about Cartersville. We know that Trevor Lawrence went there. They are a powerhouse. He's trying to choose between Georgia or Vanderbilt, but, you know, it's still early. He's only a junior. He comes in at 6 foot, 190, and just a nice, skilled 4-star wide receiver, possession receiver. And then coming in at number 2, we got a running back. It looks like he's choosing between Georgia, Ohio State. Who knows where he could go? Kevin Hartsfield from Newton, 5'10", 200 pounds, but this is a scat back who can just run all over the field. I'm really excited to see him this upcoming season. And then we got another running back from Creekside, Gary Walker. Going to have a chance to see Creekside take on one of the Columbus schools. Northside is going to end up taking on Creekside, who went undefeated last year and won a state championship. I'm excited to see what he can do. He is looks like he's a verbal commit to Clemson, 5'11", 205. Gary Walker is at number 4. At number 5, from Prince Avenue Christian, I have got Andrew Beard. And Prince Avenue Christian, one of those teams that is a private school that wins multiple championships. Remember, Brock Vandegrift was the quarterback there. He is a 5'9", 195-pound, 4-star running back who's got a verbal commit to the University of Florida. And next skill, our first quarterback off the board, Kareem Hughley, who's 5'11", 205, also a verbal commit to Clemson, who plays at Gainesville. Gainesville, no joke, they lost their head coach, Nibbert, to Colorado. They will end up taking on Buford on ESPN first week of the season. Kareem Hughley's got a chance to ball out against the number 1 team in the entire country. Excited about that. Another quarterback is going to be out of Lowndes, Jace Johnson, who stands at 6'4", 210, the verbal commit to Texas A&M. You know that there's something brewing in the water down in South Georgia with Lowndes, Valdosta, Thomas County Central, Tift County, Worth County. Man, there's so much talent down there in the southern part of the state. And then we got another running back from Lithonia, A.J. Tillman, who's a verbal commit to Louisville. He's a 4-star running back that stands at 5'9", 165 pounds. Can't wait to see him. And then Nigel Newkirk. And this is going to be the running back from Gainesville. So Hughley, if he gets in trouble, he can just hand it off to Newkirk. He's a verbal commit to Alabama. Gainesville's got some top players. It's going to be featured on ESPN. And then the next player, George Lamons from Brooks County, first tight end, who's a verbal commit to Auburn. Auburn could use a tight end. He stands at 6'4", 210. And we also have an athlete from North Clayton, Justin Murphy. I mean, he could play all over the place. He is a verbal commit to Georgia State. And hopefully Coach Del McGee can land him. That would be great. Sean Green from Camden County, verbal commit to Florida State. And who else we got? We got Mooney Gibson, and I went past top 10, but I think that did I stop at George Lamons? Yeah, I went 11, 12, and 13. Justin Murphy, Mooney Gibson, and then Braden Tyson from Brookwood out of Snellville, verbal commit from South Carolina. Okay, so it's not really a top 10. It was a top 13. All right, here's what we are going to do. Why don't we go ahead and transition to college football? Because, we've had some pretty cool moments. I've been a part of SEC Media Days. We had Big Ten Media Days last week. Kirk Cignetti stole the show by saying that the Big Ten is the best conference in all of football. I tend to agree with you, but let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and I'm not ready for that graphic yet, but I'm going to reveal my top 10 college football teams when we come back from break. You don't want to go anywhere. It's a Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, back after this. And welcome back here to the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. All right, it is time for my college football segment. And I'm excited about this because I am going to reveal my top 10 college football teams. I know the coaches poll is about to come out pretty soon. The AP poll is going to come out pretty soon. I hope I get this right. This is going to be my definition of the top 10 college football teams. I didn't pick a group of 4 or my college football playoff projections. It's just what I feel are the top 10 college football teams in the country. Let's go. Starting with number 10, Indiana, the defending national champion, Indiana Hoosiers. And look, I know that ranking them at number 10, there's some Indiana fans saying, well, we have the best coach in college football in Kirk Cignetti. We still got a lot of great players on that team, but you got to remember, you don't have Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza is the reason why you won 3 of those games last year. But they do have the transfer from TCU coming in, the quarterback, Josh Hoover. They still have one of the top wide receivers in Charlie Becker. But I think if you look at the schedule that Indiana has, some of the slip-ups at Nebraska, home to Ohio State, at Michigan, they could end up slipping up at Washington because that is always a tough place to play. I still think Indiana's a college football playoff contender. I still think they're the third best team in the Big Ten. I think that they get into the college football playoff and they only lose maybe 2 or 3 games. They're still good. They're not going to go 16-0. They're not going to win the national championship. There's too many good teams in college football for them to win another national championship. Could it happen? Could they go back-to-back? That would be the anomaly. I just don't see it happening because Indiana was such a great story last year. I just can't imagine it happening again. All right, at number 9, I got Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma made the college football playoff last year. They got a returning quarterback in John Mateer. I think Oklahoma is going to be just fine. They will get into the college football playoff. In my opinion, I actually said that there might be 5 or 6 teams in the SEC who could get into the college football playoff. This is not one of those years where Brent Venables is on the hot seat. No way. He got Oklahoma to the college football playoff. I do like the fact that they got a returning starting quarterback that's going to be taking the snaps this year in John Mateer. We just had SEC Media Days a couple of weeks ago, and I know that there is a lot of optimism for Oklahoma. Still have a very tough schedule. It's really a schedule where, you know, there could be some make or break moments for Oklahoma, but I think that they're right where they need to be. I got them right underneath Alabama. The reason why I got them underneath Alabama, because Alabama beat them in the college football playoff. I know that Oklahoma ended up beating Alabama again in the regular season, but let's be honest here. Oklahoma is going to be in the college football playoff if they have a team that's healthy. Like this latest magazine I got has them projected to finish 3rd. They're still great teams like Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Tennessee. They're going to have a pretty good season, but it's the defense led by David Stone and Taylor Wing. But Oklahoma's got one of the best kickers in all of college football. But let's take a look at the schedule because there could be some slip-ups. They do face Michigan in the Big House, week 2. That is going to be a noon kickoff, as Fox noon kickoff. Cannot wait for that. They go at Georgia. They could win that game, but that could be a slip-up game. They always the Red River rivalry is huge, and they face Georgia before they face Texas. And then they got to go to the Swamp to take on Florida. You know, taking on Ole Miss and Texas A&M. There are some tough games there for Oklahoma. I got them at number 9. Now, Alabama, I got them at number 8. Kalen DeBoer going into his 3rd year. Keelan Russell, I believe, is going to be the starter over Austin Mack. It's just a little bit more talent there. Alabama hosts Georgia in Tuscaloosa. I think that is key because Alabama did a great job against Georgia in the regular season, just ended up slipping up in the SEC championship. They want to take that taste out of their mouth, getting smacked in the mouth by Indiana in the college football playoff last year. But that loss to Florida State last year is in the rear view mirror. They do have one of the best defensive linemen in Yanzi Pierre, the Eufaula product, and Ryan Williams, still one of the best receivers in all of college football. Looking at the schedule, I don't see a slip up until maybe Georgia and then maybe at Tennessee because Kalen DeBoer has not beaten Tennessee in Knoxville, but they got to face Lane Kiffin in Death Valley. That's going to be a tough game. I see them beating Vanderbilt, and I don't know how much Auburn has improved. That game in the Iron Bowl is in Tuscaloosa. That's why I think that Alabama might end up having 2 losses and they get into the college football playoff. At number 7, just slightly above Alabama, is LSU. The reason why I got LSU slightly above Alabama is because of the Lane Kiffin factor. Look, Lane Kiffin's bringing a lot of transfers over. He's got his offensive coordinator from Ole Miss, Charlie Weiss Jr. Sam Leavitt, the transfer from Arizona State. And it's not going to take long to see the impact that Lane Kiffin's going to have in Baton Rouge. Now, got a tough schedule. They take on Clemson. This is going to be in Baton Rouge. Week 3, September 19th. He has to go to Oxford. You don't think he's going to get up for that game? Has to go to Knoxville. They play Auburn at Auburn. I know that Auburn's optimistic, seeing where the wins could possibly be, but I still think LSU. I think I've ranked LSU a little bit higher than I anticipated, but I think that Lane Kiffin's going to have a big impact. Moving on, number 6, Notre Dame. They're on that revenge tour. They were the team that took their ball and went home last year when they opted out in the bowl games. Notre Dame is still a very good team. I know they're going to be hurting, losing Jeremiah Love, but Notre Dame being benefited, not having a conference to play in, still with a tough schedule. Notre Dame is going to be right there in the thick of it. CJ Carr is their quarterback. You also have Aeneas Williams, who's taken over for Jeremiah Love, who it was one of the all-world running backs that Notre Dame had last year. Remember, Notre Dame played their best football down the stretch. I thought they might have had their best, that they were one of the best teams going into the college football playoff if they would have got in, but the committee values head-to-head, and you can't start the year 0-2 and lose to Miami in the opener. So that's why I got Notre Dame at number 6. Looking at the schedule, Luke Fickell's on the hot seat. I see them beating Wisconsin. At Purdue, Notre Dame takes on Bill Belichick on October 3rd in Chapel Hill. Stanford at BYU might be a little tricky, but I see them winning that game. Navy, they do play Miami November the 7th. Got to watch out for that game. Boston College, SMU, Syracuse. They should end up rattling off a bunch of wins. I see them maybe with 1 or 2 losses, but that's kind of where we thought Notre Dame was going to be. This is a college football playoff team. There is no question about it. That's why I got them at number 6. I ranked Oregon a little bit high. I believe in Dan Lanning. I believe having Dante Moore back as a returning quarterback. And they've got Jamari Johnson. They've got incredible wide receivers, Jeremiah McClellan, Decree and Moore. And Oregon has they return a lot of starters on defense. I really think Oregon is going to finish number 2 behind Ohio State in the Big Ten. I think this is going to be the Big Ten championship, Ohio State and Oregon this year. Having to play Boise State, at Oklahoma State, at USC, at Illinois. I think that the November 7th game against Ohio State, that is going to be the matchup I am excited to see. We finally get this in the Horseshoe. We got it at Autzen Stadium. We get it at the Horseshoe. It is going to be incredible. At number 4, I think the team that has the most talent, that has underachieved the last 2 years since they've been in the SEC, but this is put up or shut up time for the Texas Longhorns and Steve Sarkisian. Arch Manning, according to a lot of magazines, including Phil Steele and Affluent Sports, is projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2027 NFL draft. He has been preseason All-American. He's lived up to the hype down the stretch last year. I think he gets a lot of criticism for that opener against Ohio State. This time, the game is going to be in Austin, and I really think the difference maker is going to be Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman, the transfer from Auburn, the former Phoenix City resident, Central Red Devil, is going to have a huge impact on that offense for the Texas Longhorns, which I think Texas is going to be in the SEC championship, could possibly even win it. But the big question is, can Texas get over the hump and finally get past Georgia, which they have lost to the last 3 tries since they've been in the SEC. That opener against Ohio State is going to be a prove me game. Can Texas go up against the best team in college football? And I kind of just revealed my ranking here, but you see it on the graphic. You see that Ohio State's number 1. But can Texas get over the hump and win that opener and play meaningful football in the SEC? I know that the down part about Texas was that they didn't play anybody in the regular season like a couple of years ago, but I still think that Texas has a favorable schedule. Oh man, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Arch Manning could do. You know, when I saw him at SEC Media Days 2 years ago, he was an absolute rock star, and he has not disappointed. But let's take a look at that schedule because, you know, I've got my information on the Texas Longhorns. That's right. They open with Texas State. Week 2 is against Ohio State. At Tennessee is going to be tough. The Red River rivalry, always tough. Taking on Florida, Ole Miss. How about that quarterback matchup between Arch Manning and Trinidad Chambliss? At Missouri, at LSU, at Texas A&M. Pretty tough schedule. This is actually a schedule that's a little bit tougher than before, but I think Texas, they're right where I want them on my college football teams, sitting at number 4. The Miami Hurricanes at number 3, I think it's going to be a cakewalk for them to win the ACC. They got to the national championship last year pretty much with their defense led by Reuben Bain and the quarterback play from Carson Beck. Now they have a new quarterback, the transfer from Duke, but I do think that the Miami Hurricanes, from top to bottom, Mario Cristobal has done a great job building a program with a lot of talent down there in South Florida. The transfer is Darian Menza, and including one of the top transfers to go to Miami, Mark Fletcher. He is going to be a great running back. Malachi Toney, an electric receiver. Still got a lot of players on defense. And I look at Miami's schedule at Clemson, at Notre Dame. I could see them winning one of those and coming in with just one loss and making the college football playoff. Can they win the national championship? The big question is the U back? Well, they almost won the national championship last year. Let's remember the talent that they have, NIL, transfer portal, and Miami being a hotbed for football. And then at number 2, the Georgia Bulldogs, who the last 2 years have fell short. They made the college football playoff, but they lost to teams which, quite frankly, I thought they were better than in Notre Dame and Ole Miss. Having Gunnar Stockton back as a quarterback is going to be huge for the Georgia Bulldogs. But I look at the schedule and I see them taking on Alabama and Tuscaloosa. I see them taking on Ole Miss and Oxford. And I think to myself, yeah, on paper, they could lose both those games. But Georgia has a favorable schedule, and they are my pick to win the SEC for a 3rd year in a row. How about that? That would be incredible. Raylan Wilson, Ellis Robinson, KJ Bolden, they're leading the defensive attack. You've got Lawson Lucky, one of the best tight ends in the SEC. You got Nate Frazier coming back. Brand new wide receivers, though. I think they're going to miss Zachariah Branch. But I like the Georgia Bulldogs. That's why I got them at number 2. I actually got them playing in the national championship against the number 1 team on my top 10 college football teams, the Ohio State University. Julian Sayin coming back at quarterback. Jeremiah Smith, one of the top players in all of college football. And then Bo Jackson leading the other Bo Jackson leading the Buckeyes running attack. Ryan Day has built a powerhouse here with NIL and the transfer portal. Ohio State was the favorite to win it last year. They're going to be the favorite to win it this year. You can mark my words on that. They have a great team coming back. So that is my top 10 college football teams. Hope you like the graphic. Right now, we're going to go ahead, take a break. I'm going to close out the show with my sports movie review. You don't want to go anywhere. It's the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Back after this. And we are back here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Hey, how is everybody doing? All right, this will be the final week I do this. It's the summer months. It's slowing down. I'm going to have a new segment next week. But this was a segment I had fun with. This was a fun segment. I'm not like putting it away completely. It'll come back maybe during the summer. But my final movie that I'm going to review, first of all, let me recap all the movies I reviewed so far. I reviewed Facing the Giants. I reviewed Kicking and Screaming. I reviewed Above the Rim. I reviewed D2 the Mighty Ducks. I reviewed The Scout. I also reviewed Hustle. But now I'm going to have fun with this because I love this movie. I love sports comedies that hurt your side laughing comedies. Some of them could be pointless. Some of them could be crazy, nuts. I'm reviewing The Benchwarmers. It is in Adam Sandler Productions, the Happy Madison Productions. It stars Rob Schneider. He's supposedly a kid that got picked on when he was, in high school, but a pretty good athlete. He's living his life. You also got David Spade and John Hader, which hasn't done anything since Napoleon Dynamite. But you got these nerds that, the storyline is Rob Schneider, he's got a landscaping business. He sees that these kids are getting picked on by these Little League kids. In the spirit of Little League baseball, why don't we come up with a movie where these 3 grown adults are taking on 9 Little Leaguers? Did you ever want to do this as an adult? I know I have. The premise of this movie is absolutely crazy. But the scene where the Little League team tries to get the ringer might be the funniest moment in a sports movie, where his name was Carlos. He's from the Dominican Republic. He was a great ball player. And he said he was 12. Obviously. And the Tim Meadows character says, more like 1,200. The dialogue a little corny, but I got a few laughs from it. He shows him a birth certificate where it has a picture of him and it says, I am 12. I don't know how many times I've used this as a GIF to try to be a ringer for youth sports. I'm only kidding. I think it's funny. But it is a heartwarming movie about kids who don't have a chance to get to play. They get a chance to play, and these bench warmers catch the Little League world by storm. I wanted to close out my sports movie review with a weird, crazy movie review. I got a new segment next week. All right. It's time to close out the show. Man, I know we went a little bit longer than anticipated, but it's been a great show. Don't forget, Matt Stewart's going to be on Wednesday. And make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also catch replays of the show every Monday and Wednesday night on my Facebook page and YouTube channel, 5 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget, Friday's show is going to be an audio-only version of the show that you can catch on Apple and Spotify. Thank you for tuning into the show. Hey, we'll see you Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching The Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. You can catch new episodes on Facebook and YouTube every Monday and Wednesday night at 5 p.m. The Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge is a local podcast that covers sports in Columbus, Georgia.